Welcome all to my favourite day of the week to work in the taxi. I'll get onto why I enjoy Mondays so much later on in the course of this video. I'm in the Olympia area. I've just dropped the lady off from King's Cross. I got straight onto King's Cross. There was no queue for taxis whatsoever.
Where's all the taxis?
We've just trucked it along the Westway. I think some of the schools are back, so that means that the usual rhythm of life has returned. So I'm just going to head in the direction of Kensington High Street. Let's go.
And heading in the direction of the Olympia, it pays off for me. There's a lady waiting here. And a bit of a touch because she wants to go to New Cavendish Street. The particular end of New Cavendish Street she wants is near to Great Portland Street. I could run this back using the Westway, but as I'm already sort of coming back in, I feel like I might be better off taking the middle line, taking a left into Campden Hill Road. My road of choice off of Campden Hill Road is Peel Street. Yes, I know there's speed bumps on there. It just allows you to cut out a set of traffic lights if you was to go all the way up Campden Hill Road. Left Kensington Church Street and a right into Notting Hill Gate, forwarded into Bayswater Road. Now as I go past Lancaster Gate Station, I could cut this into Tyburnia. The only issue is there has been a little bit of works around the Kendall Street area, so I avoid that. Forward into Marble Arch and forward into Oxford Street. Now I've got to think about is how I get onto Wigmore Street. Wigmore runs parallel with Oxford Street, but it's what we require here. Because if you take Portman Street, you can't get a right to Portman Square, and if you take Orchard Street all the way up, you can't right into Wigmore Street. So I use Orchard Street, but I get this little right here. It's called Edward's Mews. It's kind of like almost like a little bit of a service road that runs around the back of Selfridges, and that brings you out onto Duke Street, the side door of Selfridges. From there I can get the right into Wigmore Street, and annoyingly there is quite a bit of works going on Wigmore Street, but thankfully people are actually working on them. Forward into Cavendish Square, left Chandler Street, right Portland Place, that just brings us out by the Langham Hotel, cutting out another set of lights, and a left into Portland Place. Now what I wanted to do was take the right into Duchess Street, but it does seem to be a closure right by Duchess Street and Hallam Street. So I had to go up Portland Place, get right into Weymouth Street, right Hallam, right New Cavendish Street, and just drop it there. It did take quite a bit of time here, and if I'm completely honest, I think using the Westway and coming in that way would have been quicker. But had there been a problem on the Westway, then we would have been royally. Now, bearing in mind that when I got to King's Cross, it was empty. Then I managed to pick up at the Olympia and got a nice job back across town. I'm thinking, the streets are alive again. This is going to be good. How wrong could I have been? Yep, I float around the kind of Marylebone area, Mayfair, the Palace, before residing the fact that I need to go to the toilet. So I go to the Iron Lung, have a brief break there.
Maybe my expectations were a little bit high. The first day of some kids going back to school, it's not that busy. My reason, okay, for liking Mondays, there's generally less traffic. So yes, there's less people on the streets, but less traffic, and I generally find less cabbies as well. So that just means you can just get to the places better. And when you have a passenger on board, if they want to go somewhere far, it's not as biting down on the steering wheel as it would be on, say, a Thursday or Friday. Like, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of lights floating about. I think it's going to be okay. The day will be okay, don't get me wrong. It's just right about now, it's just not amazing. So we'll get through it.
This really isn't looking good. This is taking forever to find a job. There are a lot of lights floating around, going through the West End, through Covent Garden, and out onto the Strand. I think I'm going to join a rank here on the Aldwych. You'll know that this is probably my biggest cardinal sin in the taxi. If you've been empty for a period of time, joining the rank is probably the worst idea. Let's say a rank takes, I don't know, 20 minutes to progress through and get a job. You might as well join a rank as soon as you have dropped off. But if you look for a job for 20 minutes, then join a rank, you're just doubling your time effectively. You might as well just stick to one or the other. That's kind of how I like to play it. Anyway, after about 5 minutes of waiting on this rank on Aldwych, I think sod this and let's go on for a bit more of a hunt. Going up the Kingsway into High Holborn, and as I work my way into Shaftesbury Avenue, I see this gentleman here. He is just after Euston Station. Nice, short, quick job, but when you go for ages without a job, you just want anything. it kind of feels like I've mentioned it before, but it feels like you kind of can't breathe. And as soon as you get the job in, as soon as you got a passenger on, all your worries are over. You can breathe again and it's back to chill time, really. So we just spin it back round. We go up Bloomsbury Street and forward into Gower Street. Take a right by the School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine to get a left into Mallet Street. Mallet Street takes you past RADA and Birkbeck College before we get a right into Torrington Place. Forward into Bing Place, get a left into Gordon Square. Forward Gordon Street past more UCLH campuses, forwarding over into Euston Square and drop the customer at the old rank there. Sadly, there's no one there waiting for me, and because of how long I spent looking for this one job, I think, you know what, I'm going to cut my losses, I'm going to go join the Euston rank. Just after 4 o'clock, it's pretty banged out, and once I'm in the rank, I can't even escape. I've got cabs behind me, to the left of me, and this garden in the middle here. So, great time to introduce the sponsor of today's video, who is, of course, YFood. YFood sponsor every shift in my taxi. They're convenient, they hit my nutritional goals, and they're incredibly tasty. I've got the taster pack of all their classic flavours, from smooth vanilla through to classic choco. These are the OG deal. I always carry one in my work bag because, well, as we've just seen at Euston Station, I can very quickly get stuck in a bit of a predicament and I don't want to have to leave the rank. That's just extra downtime in the taxi. They are like your favourite milkshake, but guilt-free because it's a meal in a bottle. Or what about an afternoon pick-me-up? Yes, if you're like me and you enjoy a sweet treat in the form of a chocolate bar, YFood could be the game changer you need. By being a new customer, you get 15% off of your first order. But don't worry, if you've already ordered from YFood in the past, then my discount code will still give you 10% off site-wide. My days would certainly be less tasty without them, and they support this channel massively. So, anyway, let's see how that rank is progressing at Euston. Almost 30 minutes of waiting at Euston, I get this meteor job. It's going down to Victoria, specifically the Ryu Plaza. You can't forget this really, can you? Because Ryu, Street Fighter. To be safe here, it's just going to be the big roads. Most of the time on a Monday, I won't really cut routes up because the roads are generally much clearer. By the time you cut routes up, you've just been quicker taking the quick roads. So that's what I opt for in this example. Right into Euston Road, through the Euston Underpass, forward Euston Road, and we're going to bear left into Great Portland Street. What I'm going to do here is going to get right into New Cavendish Street. That's going to bring us into the Marylebone area, left into Marylebone High Street, forward Fayre Street and forward Mandeville Place. What my thinking here is I'm going to go via James Street. This never really comes up on sat-navs. That crosses you neatly over Oxford Street and drops you into the top part of Mayfair. On the way through James Street, they actually asked me, oh, what is this area, driver? Obviously they've seen all the restaurants and the people in this area, and I'd obviously tell them James Street, but not to be confused with St James's Street. And they asked me bits about, you know, what time do the tubes run to, how would we get a tube to this area. So there's a bit of mental jiggery pokery I'm having to go through whilst driving here. I just let them know if they can somehow get on the Elizabeth line and get off of Bond Street, that's probably going to be their best option. And we go around Grosvenor Square. Leave that by Upper Grosvenor Street and get ourselves a left into Park Lane. This point, we're pretty clear. We can just run it all the way through. From Park Lane, we go around Hyde Park Corner, down Grosvenor Place, left into Lower Grosvenor Place, forward Bresden Place, right Victoria Street, left Vauxhall Bridge Road, no speed camera there today, right into Neathouse Place, left Wilton Road, and I'll just drop them on the left there. Definitely not a map line, but that runs beautifully. Nearly 5 o'clock at this point. I'm thinking Victoria could be promising, but it's pretty ranked out. And also, you'll notice there's a couple of spaces left on the back of this rank here. I couldn't necessarily join on the back there because there could be some cabs on the feeder rank which are on Vauxhall Bridge Road. So when it's this full, it's best to approach it from Vauxhall Bridge Road. I have a little hunt in the St James's Street area before getting hailed here on Old Bond Street.
I'm just going to move off here because I'm not allowed to stop here.
This is a bit of a difficult one to pick up really, because I'm right on the zebra crossing as they hail, and if I go forward then I'm going to block the street. So I go forward, I get a little bit of curb action there, which isn't ideal, but I'm just trying to be very mindful not to block the streets of London. Nice little job here, and they're off to Selfridges. So it's a quick Mayfair shimmy. From here, going to get a right into Stafford Street, crossing over Albemarle Street, and before getting a right into Dover Street. Left into Hay Hill, right Berkeley Street, and you go around Berkeley Square. What I'm trying to aim for here is either Duke Street or Binney Street. Forward Davy Street, left Brook Street, right Binney Street, left Oxford Street, and we can quickly drop them here by the bus stop. Whilst I'm in Oxford Street, I might as well have a hunt here. This guy simultaneously walks out in front of me whilst trying to hail the cab. Now for me, that's a big red flag. He kind of looks at me bemused when I just drive past, but I'm not under any obligation to accept him, because technically you only have to accept a hail whilst you're stopped and of course engaging with a passenger. But also anyone who's willing to walk out in front of a moving vehicle is just nuts. So there could be issues with trying to get payment at the other end. I've had some bad passengers in the past, and sadly it's that kind of scarring that makes me think that even if it's quiet times like this, I'm going to be happy to drive on and not pick up that person. Hopefully it's not too long until another job. Sadly, it does take a bit more hunting, another 10 minutes to be precise, before I get this hand go up by the Royal Academy on Piccadilly. This gentleman is after Leinster Square. Throws me instantly because I'm thinking, right, Leinster Gardens, it must be somewhere near Leinster Gardens. And sometimes this happens across London. Hyde Park Square is joined to Hyde Park Street. Sussex Place is joined to Sussex Gardens and nearly thereabouts Sussex Square. Leinster Gardens is not attached to Leinster Square. And then of course it's obvious, it's just that one just below Westbourne Grove. This is a sweet run. We just do the U-turn on Piccadilly and head out west. Now, I need to get up onto the Bayswater Road, and there's lots of different ways of doing it. As it's a Monday, I can do a manoeuvre which is best reserved for days like this. And it's a little bit sneaky. So, I'm going to get right into Half Moon Street, left into Curzon Street, do a left onto Park Lane, and very immediately go right into Curzon Gate. The problem we'd have with this on a normal day is that Curzon Street can build up with lots of traffic, and if that traffic isn't a taxi, they struggle to pull left out onto Park Lane because there's a bus lane there. They have to kind of go over the bus lane and into Park Lane. There isn't really any quicker way of doing this because it removes having to sit in all those lights if you was trying to chase Park Street in Mayfair. Up Park Lane, around Marble Arch, left into Bayswater Road, forward into Lancaster Gate, forward into Bayswater Road. We're going to come up at Palace Court here because the particular part of Leinster Square thereafter is the topmost bit, and that's the one-way east, so you've got to get it from the west side, which is Hereford Road, and they just want to be set down on the corner here. Nice. Time to have a little debrief and see where we are.
It's picked up a little bit, but I still feel like it's going to be slowish. You can just generally tell by the amount of people on the streets, like on a Monday compared to the end of the week. But on the drive to dropping this job off, I actually had the sun visor down and had the glasses on, and now it looks like it's about to absolutely tip it down again. We could be in luck. I think if I just go along the Bayswater Road, back in the Oxford Street direction. The good thing about Mondays is that you can generally get to an area, and if it's no good, you can just drive to another area. So let's do that.
I trundled my way back in along the Bayswater Road, and at Marble Arch, I'm fast approaching Oxford Street. I don't really like going along Oxford Street, so I go down Park Lane. It just feels so much more calmer, and it's much easier, I think, to get a job along there. And thankfully this pays off, because just outside the Grosvenor House Hotel, concierge housed me down and has a passenger who's going to the Chutney Mary restaurant, St James's Street. Here's another example as to why Mondays are so great in the taxi. So you can pick pretty much any line you like and you can get away with it. In this case, I take my first left into Mount Street, and I would never dream of using Mount Street any other day of the week. Why? It's an incredibly skinny street and it goes two ways. So if you approach another vehicle coming the other way, you're going to be spending a lot of time working out who can fit where and what. Luckily for me, I get through it pretty much unscathed in one go. straight into Berkeley Square, forward into Berkeley Street, left Piccadilly, right St James's Street, a little bit of a U-turn at the bottom there, and drop them on the corner. Just look how satisfying this looks on the map shot. It's great, isn't it? And we get it done in like 9 minutes. This is real taxi stuff. Oh, it's beautiful. As I drop off, the rain begins and I head up St James's Street and I'm very quickly hailed at the traffic light. A bit of rain, going home time, and this passenger informs me that apparently the Jubilee line is down. This is perfect. Where is she after? Waterloo. Go around Marlborough Circus at the bottom there and through Marlborough Gate and into Marlborough Road. Left into the Mall, right Horse Guards Road, left Great George Street, and sadly this bit does build up in traffic a little bit. It takes us 8 minutes to do this short stretch, but this could be what the passenger told me, that the Jubilee line being down. Many people who want to get to Waterloo might be jumping into cabs, Ubers, etc. So that could be the build up here. Forward Bridge Street, and that sets itself up for Westminster Bridge. What we're going to do here is just come in via the back entrance through that cool little tunnel there, which then becomes Station Approach Road, and I'm confronted with one of the best sights whenever you drop off at a station. That's the taxi rank basically being empty. So I drop short here at this little bit called Smoker's Corner, because if I go into the official drop off a little bit further around, I've then gone past the rank. There's no way of getting back to the rank. So I drop here, leaving a little bit of space in case any of my colleagues who are empty and want to join the rank can join in front of me. Sadly, it takes a little bit of time for the card payment to process. She tries a couple of cards before a couple of minutes later it eventually goes through and I'm able to jump straight onto the rank and get an on and off job. We're cooking on gas now. I pick up this elderly couple who wish to go to the Harold Pinter Theatre. Quite an easy one to remember this, because I always remember Harold Pinter on Panton Street. Panton Street is just that little bit sandwiched off the Haymarket. Now we leave, I instantly turn the corner before even working out which bridge I want here. Westminster Bridge and Waterloo Bridge are kind of about the same. The rationale here is that I've basically got to get to King Charles I Island, which is just south of Trafalgar Square, and that's best by going over Westminster Bridge. So unless I know there's some sort of traffic or demonstration happening in the kind of Westminster Bridge area, that works best for me. I already balls it up when I leave because I should have done a spin on the roundabout and have left it onto Westminster Bridge Road. Once we get onto Westminster Bridge though, it is a little bit heavy traffic. For some bizarre reason, it seems to be down to one lane as you get to the lights on the west side of the bridge. Because we're wanting to get into that Trafalgar Square area, I don't really want to go around the square. So we take a right into Victoria Embankment before getting a left into Northumberland Avenue. But this is where it gets a little bit sticky. Unbeknownst to me, Charing Cross Road is shut northbound, which then means the whole kind of King Charles I Island area is a bit gummed up. So I exit into Great Scotland Yard, but Great Scotland Yard, there's a bit of traffic waiting there. So I do a left into Scotland Place, right Whitehall Place, and then you do a left onto Whitehall and do a little shimmy in the U-turn. The passenger in the back actually commends me on this, saying, "Oh, well done on seeing these new routes." Whitehall northbound is pretty heavy. And it transpires as we get to nearer the Trafalgar Studios, it's down to one lane. Eventually we get through King Charles I Island, live by Cockspur Street, and what we need to get to is Whitcomb Street. But because of the Charing Cross Road closure, I think a lot of people that will be using that are diverting through this same route that we need. Eventually we get through, get the right into Pall Mall East, left into Whitcomb Street, run that up, left into Panton Street, and drop them there. Now, it is quite unfortunate. This goes to about £25, which is not satisfying at all, especially when, they've had to wait at Waterloo for a little bit for a cab. They're more than fine, though. I think they can see that I'm just doing my best, and this is just an anomaly with road traffic in London. Having a bit more of a hunt round, this hand goes up at Piccadilly Circus. Now, these people are after the Adelphi Theatre. It's one of those kind of last minute rush jobs to get everyone into the theatre. My rationale instantly, as soon as they get in, is that knowing that Charing Cross Road is shut northbound, it could be shut southbound. I have a cunning plan. Once I get them in, I do a U-turn on Shaftesbury Avenue, and that can pull us down into the Haymarket using Great Windmill Street. I know Orange Street is going to be a bit naff. I was kind of just near that area there. But what I'm going to do is get a left into Orange Street. And as we progress through, I can see the traffic coming out on Irving Street is a little bit heavy. So I go up this little top bit of Charing Cross Road, then get a right, going past the Garrick Theatre. And annoyingly, I don't move any further in the traffic. In fact, the car that was behind me manages to pull out in front of me. So we've lost the place there. Forward to St Martin's Place. We can't get William IV Street to cut the corner off, so we've got to go forward into St Martin's Place, left Duncannon Street, left into the Strand, and drop them off there, just before 7:30. I think they managed to get in just in time. I'm feeling a little bit peckish at this time, so it's time for some dinner. And I explore a little bit in that I managed to get food in the Holborn area.
Right, 20 to 8. So it's fast approaching that slack period. I'm going to head to Farmer J for dinner. These places are popping up everywhere. They're good. Mac and cheese, chicken, roasted cauliflower, and a base of cabbage. Sick. Some places just lend themselves so much better to be able to park up outside and that. That's why I've never really had much of a go-to place in this Holborn area, because it's obviously High Holborn's this little one-way system, so if you miss a parking spot, you've got to go all the way back round again. Just about 8 o'clock now, so I was literally only in Farmer J for about just over 10 minutes. Any day of the week, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock gets very light in terms of traffic getting about. On a Monday, it's just bliss. You can go anywhere. So, let's get going.
Cruising along Oxford Street, I have this hand go up just near Poland Street. Now, the lady gets in and asks for Malvern Road, and I haven't got a clue, until she says it's just off of Shirland Road, in which case it comes to me. It's that kind of West Kilburn, and with anything like that, you know it's just going to be a race up to the Marylebone Road. So, Oxford Street, right Great Portland Street, shimmy around the back of BBC Broadcasting House, so I'm going to use Hallam Street, right into Devonshire, left into Great Portland Street, but then we can get a left out onto the Marylebone Road. I find this just runs so much better than trying to risk Portland Place. Out on the Marylebone Road, over the Marylebone Road flyover, come off the slip road here because we're going to go around the Bishopsbridge Road roundabout. Quickest way to do this is cutting through Warwick Avenue. So, forward into Warwick Avenue, left Formosa Street, right Shirland Road. She lets me know that she wants me to take the right into Kilburn Park Road, left Chipping Gardens, and right into Malvern Road. Apparently there's a really nasty pothole at the beginning of Malvern Road, so I'm quite grateful that she lets me know of this. That's the other thing I love about Mondays. 14 minutes was this job. Like, we was on Oxford Street and we've dropped her in like West Kilburn. As I drop off, I have a notification from Get of a job nearby. I very rarely do any app jobs, but as I'm right on top of it and it's been a bit of a struggle today, I'm going to take that. It's just on Chippenham Road and it's going over to the St John's Wood area, specifically St John's Wood Park. Man, I've not been up to St John's Wood Park for some time. I think my brain nearly deleted it. This is a simple one because from Chippenham Road, you just get right into Elgin Avenue, run it all the way through, going past Maida Vale Station, forward Abercorn Place, left Abbey Road, right Marlborough Place, left Finchley Road before very quickly getting a right into Queen's Grove, left St John's Wood Park, and they just want to be dropped on the corner here. Nice.
There is kind of a magic to Mondays. Like that lady on Oxford Street, Chippenham Road, I'm there in like minutes, like 12 minutes or something, for so much distance covered. It doesn't feel like you're busy. It feels like you can have a lot of driving around and casualness in the meantime, but you still kind of earn your money. Like, I've looked at my sort of take-ins now and it's about on target for where I'd want to be about 9 o'clock at this time. And then that job I just did then was an app job. I don't really take any app jobs now. Just gone past 9 now. That's perfect timing, really. Hopefully get one in before the theatre rush. Maybe some people come out of the theatre. And the only downside with Mondays is that I think it does die a death straight after the theatres. So about 10:30, 11 o'clock, you're kind of finished, really. If I get one far enough north, around the 10:30, 11 o'clock, I'll probably go home on that. Which means we've got about 2 hours to make as much money as we can. It's useful to know in case any big job comes up on an app, or if someone is like, how much to insert somewhere far away here. You know, you get one big job that covers those 2 hours, then you might as well just call it a day, right? Spent your time in the West End potting around, you might do like £1 you might do like 3 £15 jobs or whatever, and that's 45 quid. Could be a bit more, who knows? So to get a big job, yeah, it does kill your shift earlier. Yeah, it does take you out of the centre zone. There's going to be no more West End, but maximising your profitability in a short time. Talking aside, let's see what I finish with.
I went my way back into town, heading to the Marylebone High Street area. And just here on Mandeville Place, I have a lady who's after the Harrow Road. You know what we've got to do again? Yep, race it up to the Marylebone Road. Spinning around here, I'm going to go forward into Fayre Street as far as I can go. That's going to force me left into George Street. George Street, right Manchester Street, and then pull that round into Dorset Street. What we're going to do here is get a right into Chiltern Street, run that all the way up, and again, because it's a Monday, we can coast very easily left onto the Marylebone Road. We're going to go around the Bishopsbridge roundabout, but unlike the Warwick Avenue example, we go under that tunnel that leads us into Harrow Road. Over the Great Western Road / Elgin Avenue lights, and she's after Fermoy Road. Dropping at around 9:30, I know I've just got to get myself back to the West End area. Reports from some of the WhatsApp groups say that the nearest station, which would be Paddington, is pretty filled out with cabs. I don't really fancy doing any rainkin. Let's go for a bit of a drive. And it's a bit of a long drive before I get my next job. 26 minutes to be exact. And the worst hail of the day goes to... So I'm already committed in the right-hand lane here to try and go down Charing Cross Road. And as the lights turn red, they put their hand up. There'd been enough time for them to hail me at the lights, come over, hop in, tell me where they want to go, which is Park Street, and then I would have been able to U-turn and get away there. However, they just stay put right on that Cambridge Circus junction, and I need to get back in the opposite direction to start our line on the Park Street. Shaftesbury Avenue, right into Wardour Street. I'm going to get a left into Berwick Street. This will set us up for Great Marlborough Street, and then from there it's just that straight line through. Forward Maddox Street. Forward Grosvenor Street, forward Grosvenor Square, forward Upper Grosvenor Street, right Park Street, and then set them down on the left there. We've still got a bit more time for the West End, so I head back in that direction. And amazingly, it does look quite a bit slim on the streets. I have to traverse along Shaftesbury Avenue for quite a way before I get this job going down to Victoria. God, how many U-turns have I done on Shaftesbury Avenue today? But you guessed it, I've got to head in the opposite direction. So, Shaftesbury Avenue, left into Great Wimble Street, forward Haymarket. Right Pall Mall, left into Marlborough Gate, forward Marlborough Road. From there, get the right into the Mall, left into the Spur Road, and then right into Birkage Walk, forward Buckingham Palace Road. And as we work our way along Buckingham Palace Road, ask them where they wish to be set. They're absolutely fine with the Shakespeare. Let's have a bit of a debrief on Brecedon Place.
I've just dropped to Victoria, it's gone 10:30, therefore it means it's do or die time. Hyde Park Corner and just do that roll from Piccadilly, Shaftesbury and all the way through. North-south, who knows what, it's gonna be my last job. Wish me luck.
I headed back in, sat in some biblical traffic on Piccadilly, but sadly, there's no other job for me. It wasn't a bad day and I managed to get my money, but it could have been a little bit better. If you want to see a much busier and action-packed shift, then I'll leave another one on screen for you there.